chapter that we know well, chapter 126, Shir HaMa'alot, B'Shuv Adonai Shivat Zion Hayinu Kicholmim, a song of ascents. When God restores the fortunes of Zion, we will see it as in a dream, not a nightmare, but a dream. Something that will be spectacular, something that is not, in a sense, normative and normal. It's something that we dream about, something that's hopeful. We've said before that there are those who explain that some of these chapters maybe are later chapters in the Tehillim, perhaps from the Second Temple period. We talked about earlier with the verse that Jerusalem is Ki'ir Shechubra Layachtav, a city that is sort of placed together, that is connected, and perhaps a reference to Nehemiah, who's going to come back early on in the Second Temple period and rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. And here too, this sounds like a chapter that was written later, Shivat Zion. It is about returning, the return to Zion. And what do we say? Az yemale schok pinu ulishonenu rinaz yomru v'goyim gdila Adonai lasot timela. At that time, our mouths will be filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. Then the nations will say, God has done great things for them. That is, for the Jewish people, God has done incredible things. Though Gemara talks about that we shouldn't, based upon this verse, we shouldn't have schok in this world, should never be complete. We shouldn't have laughter and joy and happiness that is 100%. There's suffering in this world. There are difficulties in this world. There are people who are suffering in all different levels, financially and emotionally and physically with their health. And so it's very hard to have schok, is to be malei schok pinu, to have full and complete laughter and full and complete joy. But this is going to be a dream. This is going to be something that is completely joyful, completely 100%. We see here also there's a lot of repetition sort of in this chapter. Az yomru bagoyim, we'll hear further az is, and just like in the verse 2, we had Higdil Hashem la'asot im'ela. In verse 3, we continue Higdil Hashem la'asot imanu hayinu smechim. Right? The nations will say the Lord has done great things for them, and what the Lord will do great things for us, and we shall rejoice. So it's almost like the nations realize it, and then only we come to the realization. Things have been so difficult, things have been so horrible, we don't necessarily see the joy that has come at first. It's almost like it has to be pointed out to us, people who are suffering. It's hard to point out when you're suffering the little pieces or the big pieces of joy, or the turning from horror to joy and happiness. And so the nations, they see, oh, look at the Jews, things were so terrible, but things have turned around, and now we see it as well. Shuva Adonai et shivitenu ka'afikim ba'negev. Restore our fortunes, God, like water in the Negev. This is a reference that at some point that there was lots of water in the Negev, which is of course barren and dry. Was this time that there was in the past, was full. It wasn't a desert. It was full of water, or just a hope for the future. A Ben Gurion-like idea. Ben Gurion, who put his love for the Negev, was willing to give away other parts of the Torah. So the future of Israel in the Negev, of course, buried in Stay Boker, etc., etc. So the Ben Gurion, I don't know if it was this verse, other places he had this love for the Negev. Hazorim bedima berina yiksoru. Beautiful pasuk. Those who sow in tears shall reap with songs of joy. We sow with tears. There's a lot of difficulty. Life is not simple. You work hard, and things don't always turn out in a good fashion. Things have not always turned out for the Jewish people the right way. But if we sow in tears, if we don't give up, and we continue to sow even in the dry Negev, we are going to reap with songs of joy. There's much suffering and difficulty in this world, and but ultimately, if we don't give up, if we remain working and attempting to bring about a greater future for ourselves, for our people, then Birina Yiktsoru, with songs we will be joyful at the time when we can reap those crops, reap that reward, reap the work during the time that we were in Galut, to remain part of our people when we will return to Zion. Continuing pasuk vav, haloch yelech uvacho, nosei meshech hazara bo yavo berina, nosei alumotav. Though he goes along weeping, carrying the seed bag, he will come back with songs of joy, carrying his sheaves, right? So this is a person who has seeds and they haven't seen it. And the exile is difficult. And there's much crying. And when is this going to end? And we're carrying around the bag, even though it's just seeds, because we're scared that the bag is going to be stolen. The little possessions that we have, the little bit that we have managed to retain, whether that be of our culture, whether that be of our tradition, or whether that be of some sort of a little bit of financial security. I don't know if the word security is correct, but what's going to happen in the future? We're going to go back, birina. We're going to go back with joy. And when we go back with joy, what are we going to be carrying? Not a seed bag, but full sheaths of wheat, full, complete. We're going to have a great sense of fullness. Is it supposed to be about parnasah? Is parnasah an allusion to other things? I think both are true. The lack of worry about feeding your family and the lack of worrying about enemies. The Shir Hamalot is a dream in a psalm that certainly we are familiar with because we say it on holidays, on Shabbat, right before Birkat Hamazon, one that looks for and believes in and sees that all the crying will be worth it, because what will come in the future will not be regular. It will be truly a dream.